Hello, welcome back. As always, thank you for tuning in and for doing exactly what you're doing right here, namely paying attention to your spirituality, whatever that may look like for you, and whatever role A Course in Miracles may play, if any, in fact. You do not have to be a course student in order to derive lots and lots of benefit from what we're going to talk about over the next 20 or so minutes. If you're a long-time course student, no problem. If you're a beginning course student, again, no problem. If you're somewhere in between, or even if you're familiar with this material at all, it makes no difference. What matters is that you're here. So for that, I thank you, as well as every other living thing thanks you, whether they'll say so or not. And of course, most of them won't, including many who are close to you, as we say here in the world. But it's very important what you're doing right now. Consider that you've found this channel out of all of the content available on the internet and all of the content available on YouTube. You've found this material, or say rather that it has found you for a reason. What you're about to hear over the next 20 minutes or so may very well challenge the very foundations of everything you now believe. You may be horrified. You may be greatly relieved and gleefully joyous and grateful, or anything in between. I don't know how this will land for you. One can never know exactly, but you're here for a reason. There is a message for you, or more than one message for you from the Holy Spirit, from Jesus, from our inner teacher. And you may call this whatever you want to call it. It's part of our mind. We're invited to turn to this part of our mind for guidance, which is what you're receiving right now. Now, it may come across as rather shocking. That is entirely possible. It is entirely possible that you will feel deeply challenged. Understand that that is part of the path. We could say here in the world, it's part of our journey, it's part of our growth, and whoever changed comfortably? Nobody, of course. Right? We would all readily agree to that. Yet when the very foundations of our thought system are being brought to light and exposed and found wanting and nothing, it can seem rather challenging. Simply notice when that's occurring and know that any resistance that you may experience is of the ego. The ego is this false, patently false, illusory sense of individual self. There is no separation of any kind. You're not separate from your brother. You are your brother. I'm not talking about bodies. You're not a body. I'm not talking about our artificially drawn divisions, such as nation states and boundaries and political parties and all of that stuff. There is no separation of any kind. No matter how much we may try to slice and dice and vivisect our supposed reality into multiple component parts, there are no component parts because there is no separation of any kind. And this We all know. You recognize it. You don't have to admit that you recognize it. You don't have to accept that you recognize it, but I know that you do, or you wouldn't be here. And I know that you have and still do because you're interested in spirituality. That's why we're all on the spiritual path in the first place. We just know that there's more to our experience. There's more to life, in other words, than just meeting the needs of this physical organism for food and water and sleep and going to the bathroom and our jobs and stuff. There's more to it than that. Huh, exactly. So, what may challenge you? A lot. We don't see things as they are. Therefore, when we're pointed to truth, when we're invited to see what we mistake for our reality, for what it is, a mistake, we may become instantly defensive and lash out in fear and blame. Lash out at the pixelated image on your screen, delivering the message, lash out at this course, believing it is false, erroneous, and wrong, and worse than that. Okay. Understand that none of us wants to feel fear and guilt. You do not, I do not, no one does. So, what do we do when we feel this? We attempt to get it away from us, as far away as possible. We project it. We blame someone else. We blame a simple pixelated image on our screen for delivering us the cold, hard truth as we perceive the truth to be. It's actually quite loving, but in our delusion, we may see it as a hammer blow. I don't know. I'm not sure how you'll take it. It's just as common to hear these ideas which turn our perception right side up and to feel a deep sense of joy, a sense of laughter, perhaps, a sense of profound relief that this confirms something you've always known. Yeah, you have always known that there is no separation of any kind, and that you've never left your source. Capital S, please. Thank you. Huh, exactly. You know that. What we're on here, on what we call the spiritual path, is simply a gradual awakening to that, accepting truth just as it is. So here's a little pointing to truth for all of us today. Here in the world, we talk a lot about justice, this sense of people getting their due, what's coming to them, what they deserve, and all of that. Here in the world, we have a very warped sense of this because we think justice is all about punishment. Our legal systems, our supposed criminal justice systems, no matter where you live in the world, play this out where people commit a supposed transgression against a state or a government or another person and are punished accordingly. Not condoning people's behavior, but we're looking at this for what it is. We think we're all separate, and in this state where we seek to punish people for their supposed wrongdoing, their transgressions against us, what we're really doing is we're reinforcing the idea of separation and attack. So we're invited, you're invited, cordially invited, lovingly invited, to take a look at justice with the Holy Spirit, not with the ego. In the ego's eyes, it's about punishment and vendettas, getting people back for stuff that they've done to you, of course, an affront, personal. With the ego, it's always personal. The ego thinks it's the center of the universe, when in fact it is nothing. There is no separation of any kind and no ego. You do not have to give it your allegiance. You don't have to give it your allegiance at all. Yet we're having this conversation because we all do that. We give the ego our allegiance over and over and over again. If we didn't, this would not be necessary and would not be happening. Or shall we say, it wouldn't appear to be happening. Hmm. So we have this mistaken concept of justice when we look with the ego. We're invited to look at it with the Holy Spirit, who looks right past all of the apparent separation to truth, perfect oneness. Your brother is you. You're your brother. One. So justice and love are the same. Look at it with the Holy Spirit. Justice and love are the same. It's fair, totally whole and fair to all, no exceptions. What we look on as punishment, the Holy Spirit looks right past to truth, to love, which does not know punishment. Love corrects our errors, but not with punishment. Love corrects errors in our mind, but not with vengeance. Love does not attack, it's love. Love is not partial, it's total. It is not 8 billion, it is one. It is not cut off and currying favor. It does not play favorites. It's one. So, God, love, same, as you well know, does not play favorites. God does not play favorites. You are not more or less favored than your neighbor. You are your neighbor, remember. Let that challenge you if it challenges you. Or if you're having one of the thoughts or reactions of that confirms everything I've always known. Hmm. Yeah, it does. These comments stem directly from the text of A Course in Miracles, chapter 25, section 8, if you're following along at home. The title of this section of the Course is Justice Returned to Love, so it's very appropriate. Justice is not about punishment, it's love. So if you feel like you're ever on trial, the Holy Spirit will dismiss the case against you. It will not even be heard. Case dismissed. God's Son is forever guiltless. There is no sin. It doesn't matter if you've been raised to believe that there is. I certainly was. In not one but two, my building is the only building. Your building is not a real building, even though it looks like a building. It's really not a building because you get together on a different day at a different time and you look differently than us. So your building is not a real building, kind of fundamentalist churches. We all know the type. Now, while that has served as a really, really big and prominent forgiveness opportunity for me, as it can serve for you as well, understand that we don't have to accept what doesn't resonate for us as true. You're on this path because you've been listening to the Holy Spirit, and the ideas of separation are wanting. You have found them wanting. You've raise them to question, or you wouldn't be here. So I want to invite you to continue to raise them to question. We're invited here, as we study and practice this course, to question everything. If you're questioning this pixelated image on your screen and this course, good, keep going. Don't stop. Do not stop. Question the very foundations of everything you now believe. And when fear arises, as it will, it may be arising right now, recognize it for what it is and bring it to light. Bring your illusions to truth. Bring darkness to the light of truth. What happens? Light shines them away. Fear is bound to come up. We all appear to be here because we have given in to it and normalized it lots and lots of times. So, what are we doing here with this practice of true forgiveness, with giving our experience over to the Holy Spirit in total? We're undoing this thought system of separation and pain. It is not real. You know it's not real, or you would not be here. So, I invite you to continue. And when you're challenged, recognize it for what it is. The ego attempting to maintain its dominion and control. You do not have to let it, but we must recognize it. The help and guidance that you have is built in and it's powerful. I'm talking about our inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, right now, to whom you're invited to appeal for guidance and help. When things get, as we say here on Spinning Ball of Rock, challenging. It's always something here, isn't it? So, what you'll find, should you choose to see it this way with the Holy Spirit, should you look with the Holy Spirit, which I invite you to do, this course invites us to do, is to look at all of this for what it is and let the Holy Spirit judge for you. Case dismissed. You've never sinned. There is no sin. There's no separation. How can there be such a thing as sin? This idea of sin requires a separation in and of itself because one person or thing must harm or supposedly harm another thing. There is a separation built into it that is not real. God has no ego to be offended. There is no ego. There's no offense. There's only perfect oneness. We can continue to delude ourselves into thinking that we're separate, and you may choose to do that today, and you may be back tomorrow, or you may not be back for the rest of this lifetime. But let me tell you something that you know full well. The choice is yours. No one is going to take that from you. They cannot. So, should you choose to continue this path, you have powerful, mighty guidance at the ready at all times in your inner teacher. All you must do is call upon it. Now, also here on Wobbling Spinning Ball of Rock, where there sure do appear to be 8 billion plus raving lunatics called human beings. Yeah, well, you may surely ask one of them questions as well. This comment thread is designed for just that purpose. Should you have questions about spirituality, which is quite natural, isn't it? It's deep self-inquiry. So to the extent that you have questions and you're willing to share them here, please feel welcome to do that because you'll be benefiting not only yourself, but others across Wobbling Spinning Ball of Rock whom you're never likely to ever encounter or meet in person. So this technology, which can and clearly is used to disseminate hatred, fear, and rapid, rampant and misinformation and propaganda and all that stuff can be used equally, in fact, more powerfully, in the service of the Holy Spirit. That's what's happening right now. So if you have questions, please feel welcome to leave them here. I check the comment threads frequently because several videos appear each week, so I will see them. If you've got questions, please feel welcome to leave them. And if you just want to pop in and say hello, I'd love to hear from you. It is an international community and it is growing, so thank you to those of you who have recently subscribed. If you have not yet, that's the prompt in the corner of your screen over here. Just click that icon. You'll be invited to join us. Please do so. All right. Several videos again appear each week. There's always something to talk about after all. So I thank you for tuning in, and I will speak to you very soon.